He was experiencing shortness of breath and he could not breathe. At this time, the world had been on lockdown due to the coronavirus. But as an essential worker working for the post office for over 37 years, it wasn't lockdown for him. He still had to report to work. So when I found out they were sick, I immediately shipped out some NutriBurst. When he arrived to the hospital, he had no idea that he had the coronavirus. They told him that they had to keep him overnight to run some tests. They wanted to run an MRI and take some blood work. So he texted his wife saying, I wouldn't be home tonight. They're going to keep me overnight. They're going to run some tests, and I'll see you tomorrow. And that was his last text. Unfortunately, I could not get the NutriBurst to the hospital, but I did ship it to my aunt, and she took it and got well. Uncle Charlie's condition worsened rapidly and had to be placed on the ventilator. All I could do was pray. Let me explain how Uncle Charlie's heart stopped. After weeks of being sick with this deadly virus, all alone, no family, haven't seen a familiar face in weeks. Keep in mind, his body is sick. His body is going through, the suffering, but his mind is aware and conscious of what's going on. So he is conscious while all of this is happening, and the first thing you want to see, or the first person you want to see, is your family. He hadn't seen his wife or daughter in weeks, so he tried to get up to get out of there, but he was too weak and collapsed on the bathroom floor and actually was unresponsive. We lost them for a minute or two, but doctors found him, they revived him, and in doing so, they broke his rib. During his month and a half hospital stay, I spoke to my aunt almost every day, probably every other day, but was praying 24 hours a day. I commend my aunt for her strength and for her faith in God. You never know how strong you are until it's time to be strong. Some days she was very, very strong, and then other days I can just hear the pain in her voice. In those days that I could hear the pain in her voice, she still called me to give me an update. After 2 weeks of being on a ventilator, they decided to do a track feeding tube. So being on that ventilator, they became concerned about his vocal cords. You know, it was a possibility he couldn't speak again. So time went by. I received a call stating that he would be coming home. I was so excited. To God be the glory for the things he has done. And it was a joyous moment. He was supposed to be coming home, and she said he would be home on Tuesday or something like that, and it was like on, or maybe if she said Friday and he was supposed to come home on Sunday, or he would have been home on Monday. All I know is he was supposed to come home on a particular day. So I called, a couple days later, and I was like, "Is Unc home?" And she said that they had to keep him because he was experiencing, and she didn't know this at the time. Keep in mind, she didn't know what was going on. It was like a mystery. Like, what do you mean? You said he was coming home. Why can't he come home? Well, come to find out, he was experiencing trouble, complications from delirium. Delirium is something you experience when coming off of the ventilator. So at that time, they had the coronavirus under control. They got him together, he was doing well, but they had to transfer him to the psych ward. And thank God, there at the psych ward, they diagnosed him bipolar. So he was able to get his, medications. They, adjusted his medications and things like that. And then finally, he was able to come home after being in that hospital for almost 2 months. Now, although he was released, when he came home, he still was not good. He was not good. But thank God, they got that NutriBurst, and that NutriBurst brought him back to life. My aunt immediately ordered her a large NutriBurst, which lasts a month. And quote unquote, a few days, about 3 days after taking that NutriBurst, Uncle Charlie had strength. He was able to get up out the bed. He was able to play his drums. He was able to dance. He thought that he would never dance again. Here's some footage of Uncle Charlie breaking it down, okay?
Hey, yeah, turn around, turn around. Go ahead, babe. We do not own the rights.
that came. Like, it was so beautiful.
Not only has NutriBurst saved Uncle Charlie's life and got him up and, feeling amazing, it has also changed my life as well. I give God all the glory. I am so grateful. I am so grateful to you, Mr. Jack Fallon, for creating and making this product. Without it, my life would be miserable just like it was a year ago prior to me taking this product. I've been taking my NutriBurst for a year now, every day, and I am healthy and strong. And I just give God all the glory for you, Mr. Jack Fallon.